Good morning, everyone. It is whatever day it is, Thursday, February 5th. Off to a stellar start here, not even remembering what day of the week it is, but they all blur together. So, what's it really matter? Thursday, Wednesday, Saturday. It's all the same, right? Listen, we actually have a lot of fun stories to talk about today. It's not just horrible, depressing awfulness, it's fun. And there's actually not just fun, there's even a positive uh, piece to talk about today. So, a lot of fun stuff. Great to see everybody in the chat. Everybody, as far as I can see, being very cordial, telling some dad jokes and bad puns. Not that the puns are bad. You get what I'm saying. Again, I'm a little off today, folks. Super chat already from Paul Gustafson says, for a good laugh, watch Colbert's monologue from last night where he totally roasts MAGA Mike for his attempt to school the Pope on the Bible. I had not seen that. I actually do have a segment planned, not in today's live stream, about that. Because, yeah, if you're picking a fight with the Pope about religion, it's a fight you're going to lose 100% of the time. Very dumb of Mike Johnson, and of course, very anti religion, to be honest with you. Anti-Jesus is what we're going to call Mike Johnson. Paula Trigg, thank you very much, says, we need Farron fun fact of the day. The fun fact of the day is that we are currently 10 days away from my birthday. 43 is how old I will be on February 15th, of course. It's a Sunday this year, which I'm not too crazy about. Last year was a Saturday. That was awesome, but or Friday, I guess. What I do like, however, is that my birthday typically falls on President's Day weekend or thereabouts. So I always get, a nice... Actually, I can't even say that because I don't get a nice break because this isn't a normal job. I still got to do it every day. But hey, at least it's, a 3-day weekend. Maybe I'll do something fun. Maybe I'll go out of town. My wife and I have been talking about that a lot. I start to get a little antsy if I haven't gone on a vacation in a while. It doesn't have to be anything, extravagant or crazy, blah, blah, blah. It's just getting away from just the daily monotony of everything. Really, really does good. And I need that. I really need to go away. As weird as that sounds, we need a break and we need to get out and go do something, experience something new. That's always fun. This Sunday is the Super Bowl, folks. So regardless of which team you are rooting for, or if you're just watching for commercials, whatever, one thing you can be sure of is that you're not going to see the camera pan through the crowd and land on Donald Trump. Trump, as everybody knows, was the first sitting U.S. president to attend a Super Bowl during their administration last year by going to New Orleans. And he's not going to do it this year. No, he wanted to. He really did. This year's a little different. Donald Trump has decided that he is not going to go to the Super Bowl, according to a report from Zateo, because he is afraid of being aggressively booed. Not just booed, aggressively booed by the crowd. And of course, he's afraid that some of the musicians performing day before the Super Bowl, Bad Bunny at the halftime show, he is afraid that those artists are going to call him out or call out his policies. And he doesn't want to be present for that. My God, that would hurt his feelings just too darn bad. So he's not going. Now, initially, Donald Trump had actually told reporters that, he wants to go, but this year it's in California. And he's like, it's too far. He literally said, it's just too far away. I'm in DC. Super games out in California. How do I even get there? I gotta buy a plane ticket. It's not like I have my own plane ready to take me literally anywhere on planet Earth at a moment's notice, right? So a little weird that he would try to be like, gosh darn it, just so far away. You have flown to Europe and then flown back on the same day in that plane that you don't have to pay for. So don't act like going to California is some kind of big, horrible trip that you just can't make because it's like going on the Oregon Trail, right? No, you can do that, and you could probably be back home in time to get on Truth Social at 1 a.m. to start ranting about how much you hated the Super Bowl. But then, after he told reporters that California is just so darn far away, he was asked about Bad Bunny, Green Day, and he's like, I'm anti them. I think it's a terrible choice. All it does is sow hatred. Terrible. So that's the real reason. I don't even think that he's super afraid of the crowd booing him, because there would be plenty there that would cheer for him, and that might drown out the boos. But I think he's afraid of Green Day. I think he's afraid of Bad Bunny. I think it's the musicians, the celebrities. Their hatred gets to him like no other, because they have what he has always wanted: stardom. They're the people that other folks look up to. Those are the people who, through their own talent, have become successful, not because of daddy's money, not because, oh, well, I bought this thing and now it's worth more than what I paid for it, which is how Trump, of course, got rich. They actually got famous through talent, and Donald Trump is envious. And when those people, through their talent, call him out, it gets to him so much more than a crowd booing him. That's why it bothers him so much. And that, of course, is why he's not going. So, of course, we now have Trump always chickens out. It's no longer about tariffs anymore. Chickening out of going to the Super Bowl. Hell, he chickened out of continuing his economic rally tour. Remember that, everybody? He was supposed to be going across the country to begin this year, to do all those speeches about how great the economy is and how we're going to keep making it better. And he did two and was like, screw it, I'm done. There were supposed to be like a dozen or more. It was going to be like one after the other. And after the second one, they were like, nope, we're going to can this right now, because this is actually going so much worse than we thought. So he chickened out of that. He chickens out of everything, because we have never had a bigger coward sitting in the White House than we do today. Some super chats came through. Let me get to these real quick. It says Supreme Court just gave Dems the 26 midterms. That story is coming up just a little bit later. That is the positive one that I referenced earlier. V-Man says, Farron, I want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard investigating elections in Puerto Rico. Many don't see why she is doing this, but as someone who follows Puerto Rico elections, I think I know why. Continued in the next chat. I know nothing about that. I have not seen it. I have not heard about it. So that is not something I am able to speak about intelligibly, unfortunately. But I will continue your next super chat here. Puerto Rico's elections suffer from integrity issues due to years of right-wing governments rewriting electoral laws to benefit them. For example, we have individual on voter rolls from the 1800s. They are learning. That is interesting. Again, it's not something that I follow, so it's not something I'm able to speak about. Unfortunately, I do appreciate the info. But again, I can't speak to that because I don't know anything about it. So again, thank you. I really hate I almost feel like that kind of comes across as rude, and I'm really not trying to. It's just sometimes things like that will kind of throw me off a little bit because I don't know what to say, because I don't know anything about it. So it's a little jarring mentally for me to do that. I appreciate the knowledge. I definitely appreciate the super chats, but Again, sometimes if I'm on a different subject and then something else is like, hey, what about this? It's like, let's focus a little bit on this. And then unfortunately, there are times when it's like, I don't even know about that. And then I kind of look silly. So sorry, I'm not trying to come across as rude about that or dismissive. I don't know anything about it. And I'll be honest when I don't know anything about something. I'm not going to sit here and try to BS people and make them think that, oh, I know everything about everything. No, nobody does. So hope that helps. V-Man continues to say they're learning how to rig 2026. That is something I will say I will look into and hopefully learn a little more about it. So I do appreciate that. Trump doesn't want to go anywhere because his safe haven is now the White House. Definitely possible, right? Because that's his alternative reality. That's the bubble. Everybody inside the White House, all the cabinet members, all the staffers, everybody always telling him how great he is. Everything's wonderful. Don't worry about the outside world. So as soon as he steps away from that, you end up in this situation where you're confronted with the realities of your failure. So keeping him locked in that White House, occasionally going to Mar-a-Lago, occasionally going to Bedminster, keeps him inside of that bubble. Going all the way to California, yeah, that's going to be a little jarring for this guy. Why isn't he golfing anymore? What's up with that? Asks Thomas DC Canada. It's because I don't think he physically can. I mean, this is a guy that can't walk a straight line anymore. He can barely stand up, several minutes at a time. I think he physically just cannot do this anymore. His body is giving out on him and he's refusing to admit it, but obviously also taking steps to avoid having an incident in public, I think. I mean, if you look back at his first administration, yeah, he did do a lot of things where he would be sitting at the Resolute desk. There would be people standing up behind him, but he would also frequently get up, right? Like, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to go. I'm going to talk to these people. I'm going to start showing off things. He did it at the beginning of the administration too, at this one. But now there's a lot more sitting than we've ever seen. Less movement, unless he has a dementia moment where he's in the middle of a meeting and is like, oh, I'm going to get up and go look out the window. I think I saw a squirrel. His body is getting worse rapidly. And that's the part that I think not enough folks are talking about. I think everybody's doing a good job of talking about, the cognitive decay, the physical decay. But what's not getting enough focus is not just that it's happening, but that it's accelerating at a rate that is just mind-blowing at this point. Let's move on, though, because here's a fun one. Kristi Gnome, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, may have accidentally killed Donald Trump's border wall. Y'all remember that, right? From the first term, we're going to build a wall. And he did build a little bit of it during the first term. And then within months, reporters would go out, show that pieces of it were broken. A lot of it was rusting. In certain areas, the ground underneath had washed out so much, there's like 4-foot gaps between the bottom of the fence and the earth. So it was a failure from the start. But when he came back into office, he was like, we're going to finish the wall. In fact, he said they were going to have 2,000 miles of border wall completed by the time his second term ends. Instead, a little over a year in office, they've built 30 miles of wall. 30. So they only have 1,970 miles to go. And the reason that construction has been so slow and at this point almost a dead stop is because of Kristi Gnome. Kristi Gnome, as everybody knows, has put a policy in place at the Department of Homeland Security. Any expense over $100,000, whether it's for a contractor, whether it's for a FEMA payment, has to be signed off by Kristi Gnome herself. They're on her desk. She just hasn't signed them. So Homeland Security claims like, no, there's thousands of ones that she has signed. They're just, they're not working. So she signed bad contracts with people that got the money and then didn't do the work. Or you're lying about her actually signing these because according to officials down in Texas and contractors, their contracts haven't been signed. So we can either take the word of Tricia McLaughlin, who works for Gnome at the Department of Homeland Security, saying, no, she signed them all, they're just not working. Or we can take the word of the contractors who are sitting there saying, look, we're literally right here ready to go. She hasn't signed the contracts. Now, I'm going to do something a little weird here. I'm going to defend Kristi Noem. This might be the best thing that Kristi Noem has ever done. And I hope she keeps doing it. And by doing it, I mean not signing those contracts and wasting even more of our tax dollars to build a wall that is, one, easily scalable with $30 to $40 worth of equipment from Lowe's or Home Depot, and two, will deteriorate within a matter of months. So I'm totally fine with that. Let's not spend money on this very stupid obstacle course because that's what it becomes for people. It's almost like a fun little challenge to see how they can get around it or over it or under it. All it does is temporarily slow people down, and some of them, again, have had quite fun doing it. We have seen videos on social media of how much they enjoy climbing over one side or the other. So if Kristi Noem wants to leave these contracts in a stack on her desk, I'm 100% in favor of it. I think that's a great idea. Now, for all the other things that she's not signing, like all of the payments to the people in North Carolina, victims of Hurricane Helene, the victims of the flooding this past summer in Texas, those are things that do need to be signed. But wasting money on a border wall when Americans are struggling and going bankrupt and farmers told Congress this week might be the dumbest thing possible. So thank you, Kristi Noem, for not signing those contracts. Might the only good thing you do during your time at Homeland Security. Now, I do want to take a second here because I keep getting a notification that my connection's unstable. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about that. That's just the internet here. So if everybody just kind of bears with it, from what I see, it's only temporary. It's just kind of happening off and on. So just bear with us, kind of push through it a little bit, and hopefully it'll get better. But yeah, it's me. It's not you. I've seen some folks comment about it. It is what it is. I've got horrible Mediacom internet here. It's supposed to be like top of the line, blah, blah. It's crap. So I am trying to switch. And by trying, I mean, I need to just make a phone call and I haven't done it. I'm phone call averse. I don't like making calls. I really just don't. Never have. Like, it's not just a thing like, why don't we text instead? I've never enjoyed being a phone guy. Not that kind of guy. Anyway, I thought it was me too, and I don't have great internet either. Nah, it's me. It's always me. I'm buffering too, and I'm in Florida today. The bad connection, but let's roll. Yeah. We don't have great internet. We don't have a lot of options. I think we've got like 2 in this area. So, it's crappy, but we make do. Listen, one thing I want to talk about today, and this is a far more serious thing, but I have a good solution to put it to an end. This week, the Trump White House put out a post on social media that claimed they were showing all of these criminal illegal aliens that had committed crimes against children, mostly, obviously, child predators, because most of these were allegedly sex crimes. They put their photos and names on social media, sent it out to their millions of followers on social media, and wouldn't you know it, they got it wrong. They falsely labeled at least one individual a child sex criminal, when in fact, he was basically arrested for larceny. Larceny, of course, theft. But the administration on social media to millions of people labeled this man a sex offender. When this was pointed out to the administration, they did not issue an apology. All they did was delete the post, switch his picture out with somebody else, and put it back up. That's it. So they technically corrected the mistake, but didn't issue a statement saying they had made this kind of mistake. In their rush to label everybody this horrible criminal type person, they made a mistake because they don't check, they don't verify. And honestly, at this point, I don't think we can trust them on any of the other individuals they labeled as criminals. But here's the problem. Nobody noticed that they changed the photo to allegedly the correct person, because again, they didn't make an announcement. They didn't say, oopsie doo, our bad. This guy actually was not the kind of criminal we said he was. They just changed it and reposted it. The damage is done for this individual who the White House mistakenly called a child sex criminal. This is not the first time this has happened. They're labeling everyone that they don't like, whether they're an undocumented immigrant or not, or U.S. citizen, right? They're throwing these names and labels and terms onto all of these people willy-nilly, regardless of the facts. And then later on, once they realize they screwed up, they just stop doing it. They don't issue corrections or retractions or apologies. And those three things are important, because without those three things, you have a slam dunk slander, libel, defamation law on your hands. And that's what has to start happening. This administration has to be sued every time they do something like this. Anytime they call you something that you are not, sue them. All of these people, right? The so-called leader of Antifa that they found the other day, calling him a domestic terrorist, sue for defamation. This individual that they labeled a child sex criminal, sue for defamation. You think you can't sue a sitting administration and win? Why don't you go talk to E.G. and Carroll? Yeah, I know the trial took place after Trump had left office, but the defamation happened while he was president, and she's laughing all the way to the bank. The only way to get these other people in the administration to stop, which Trump won't ever stop, no matter how many times he loses in court, but the only way to get these people to stop is to sue the pants off of them. You think Caroline Leavitt is still going to go out there every day saying the horrible things about people that she says, if she knows she could lose $50 million by saying it? She doesn't have $50 million to spare. You think Kristi Gnome has $50 million to spare? No. The only people in this administration that do are Trump himself, Howard Lutnick, and what's his name? Commerce Secretary. Or that's Lutnick. Bessent is the other one. They have the money to spare. Linda McMahon does too, but she's relatively quiet. But all these other folks, the staffers, the people running the social media, Caroline Leavitt, Stephen Chung, Stephen Miller, those people don't have the financial resources to survive the number of defamation lawsuits that could have been filed against them already. So if We want this rhetoric to stop. If we want people to stop being falsely labeled criminals by this administration, sue their asses off. Otherwise, the slander is going to continue. It says, no, Carol did not get any money. As it works its way through appeal, sure. She did win over 80 million in judgments, though. So, yes, she did win. Does she have the check yet? No. I have feeling Carol will conveniently disappear when it's time for him to pay like he did to his ex-wife and Virginia. Of course, that is a reference to Virginia Giuffre, one of the most outspoken victims of Jeffrey Epstein, who, of course, passed away last year, suspiciously. So, listen, I didn't want to scare anybody off with the super chat thing. I just kind of wanted to express that, in an issue where I don't know anything about it, I will gladly read the super chat. It's just, I can't speak intelligibly about things I do not know. So don't want everybody to think that I'm just anti that. But I do appreciate everybody. I love the comments in the chat too. He had to put up a bond in order to appeal, though. The money is there. That is correct. Today is my birthday, says Critter BC. Well, happy birthday. Hope you have a wonderful day. You can't scare me away. I'm a New Yorker. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What else we got here? I do like going through the comments. I have what is this? FDJT and every single elected Republican. That is true. All of them. And I like that because I don't think we need to separate. I don't think we need to say, well, this person's a moderate Republican. This one's an anti-Trump Republican, so they're not bad. They're all bad. They may not agree with everything Donald Trump says or does or even his tone. But these are still people that would gladly push us into more unwinnable wars in the Middle East. They would gladly pass legislation all over the country restricting the rights of the LGBTQ community. They would gladly ban books. They would gladly poison our environment. They're all horrible people. There are no good ones. So yes, it is F them all. Not just Trump, not going to make exceptions for somebody that's on the right that votes for all this oppressive legislation and then is like, well, I don't like Trump. No, piss off. You're exactly like him. You like the candy contents. You just don't like the wrapper that it's in. Here's a super chat from Zinthuin. Says, the forever question of MAGA follower logic, even when this administration is power hungry and greedy, do they side with Trump for short-term gains while they just gamble long-term consequences? I think yes, 100%. Because they're not looking into the future at all. It's all about what can I get right now to make me happy in this very moment. Not what's going to happen in a year from now with this decision I've made. What's going to happen 5 years, 10 years down the road. They don't think that way. They just think, I want this right now. I will do whatever it takes to get this right now. Consequences, I don't even know how to spell that word, let alone think about what that could mean. So it is right here, right now. And the consequences for a lot of these folks will come eventually. And that's the point where we will see them pull a full Kyle Rittenhouse sobbing in court like, yeah, that's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait for all of those clips to go around. Hopefully their court case goes differently than Rittenhouse's, but it'll remain to be seen. Melania Trump on Wednesday had a little event at the White House. She hasn't done many of those, right? She usually isn't even at the White House, but she held an event where she was supposed to be, honoring and showcasing these American Israeli hostages that had been released. They're back in the United States. It's totally awesome. But she also decided to plug her book because her conversation with one of the hostages when she was initially released was actually featured, as she pointed out, in her new film, Melania. But of course, so poison. But Melania report, we're supposed to hear about hostage release, and this is supposed to be like good, happy